Welcome to the incoming parent information session for the Jackson Heights Middle School Band. I'd like to take a few moments to shatter some frequent myths about band in general. So the first myth that typically is thought of about band is that band would interfere with sports. And when it comes to sports, most of our students are involved with sports either in our school program here or outside of school. We have students that do basketball, football, soccer, anything like that. It really hardly ever interferes with what we do with band, especially within the first year of band. The next myth would be that students have to have prior knowledge on an instrument or that they would have to have prior ability to read music. Most of our students that come into band have zero experience on an instrument and zero experience reading music on a regular basis, other than some minor things that they learned in elementary school. There are a few exceptions to this for certain instruments, but a majority of our instruments do not require that. The next myth is that students would be required to take private music lessons to be part of our band program. In most cases, this is not true. We do have a few exceptions of instruments that would carry a requirement for private lessons, but again, that is not the majority of what our band instruments are in our band program. The next myth is that band requires a lot of after-school practices. At the middle school level, this rarely happens. In the first year of band, that doesn't happen at all. Some of our more advanced groups do a very small handful of after-school practices in the second half of the school year that I can count on one hand, but it is not a weekly thing. Our band classes are classes during the day that students have every single class day. Another myth is that band is just expensive because everything is purchased or it requires just a ton of money. And the reality to that is we try to spread things out as much as we can. We try to make a cost as minimal as possible. We also have even some scholarships available for families of need so that we can make it as affordable as possible. The next myth is that braces would prevent a student from being in band, which is just not true. There are some issues that students may encounter by getting braces, but I am well aware of the fact that students are going to get braces no matter what at the middle school level. So there are some instruments where it hardly has any bearing at all, and some instruments where it might have a little bit more of a time period of adjustment. The biggest thing is that I suggest that families do not get braces with their child just before a performance, that they would leave at least a month that's available before that happens. The next myth is that band would use drums and other string instruments like guitar and other string instruments like violin or cello. Band, we use traditional wind instruments. We do have percussion that is available for students with prior experience. We do not call it drums because the students learn everything that's in the percussion family if they end up doing percussion. So drum set is reserved for students who are in jazz band. So we use traditional wind instruments, which include flute, oboe, bassoon, clarinet, and brass instruments of trumpet, French horn, trombone, euphonium, otherwise known as baritone, as well as tuba. We do not have saxophone in the first year of band, but is available as a switchover commonly from clarinet. The next myth is that if your child did study piano or studied another instrument, like a string instrument, perhaps, that they would be unable to find an instrument that would be suited in band, or they would not be able to play another instrument. And that's just not true. We have students that come in every year that have had a prior piano background or string background on another instrument, and they can fall into a traditional band instrument perfectly fine. In many ways, it prepares them mentally for other things that they would encounter in the first year of band, but it has no bearing on them being prevented from being able to do specific instruments in any way. The next myth is that all instruments are just simply owned by the school, and that is not entirely true. We do have some instruments that traditionally are always owned by the school. which tend to be the instruments that are either larger or more expensive. There are some instruments that are available for families of need that the school will own, but traditionally there are instruments that families would take care of from an outside approved music store, which we'll go over in just a little bit. And the next myth would be that all instruments are maintained, or the upkeep or maintenance would also be taken care of by the school. And that is not always true as well. The school board actually gives us $400 towards instrument repairs, which is hardly anything. So we actually use a maintenance fee when doing the school-owned instruments, which we'll talk about a little bit, and that helps go into our band booster budget, which helps the school-owned instrument repairs. And we'll talk about what happens with repairs for other instruments that are not owned by the school in just a little bit. And the last myth is that the school provides other things like paper and ink and other office supplies, which we do get a little bit of that, but there's a lot of supplies that we go through during a regular school year that are not provided by the school or the school board, and we do raise funds and have a band boosters that helps with the cost of those particular items that we use throughout the school year. Students that are coming in with no prior knowledge on an instrument are enrolled in what we call Band 1 or beginning band. No experience is necessary. Once again, we use traditional band instruments that we spoke about earlier. They typically perform 2 concerts, and they can also participate in something optional that we call solo and ensemble, which happens in the spring. Another class we have is called percussion class, and this is one particular class that is not on a schedule request form because it's created. It uses traditional percussion instruments. It has a mix of 6th through 8th graders of all levels on percussion. They are separated for performance based on needs and abilities of other band classes. They all participate in solo and ensemble. This is the one class that does require prior knowledge of reading music, or either formal piano lessons or formal percussion lessons. Usually all of the students that are in the percussion class are taking private lessons while being in the class with either a piano teacher or a percussion instructor. And the reason for that is they are playing a multitude of different instruments that is using a variety of different clefs, different techniques, and they need to be very independent, and it requires a lot of going back and forth on different things. This class moves at a much faster rate, and the students that are 6th graders that are put in this class have to be able to work well with older students with more experience as a result. For these reasons, this class is not offered to students who do not have experience in percussion or piano. Students that are interested in this class and have those prerequisites have the ability to try out for this class to see if they have the skills necessary to be allowed to have this as their class instead of Band 1. As we said before, commonly the beginners play 2 concerts. The first one is a winter concert in December or late November. And their last concert is a spring concert, normally in the month of May or late April. Some required materials that the students use throughout the school year. We have a band uniform that we use. It's a band blue polo shirt ordered through the band boosters. Parents get black dress pants on their own. And then we have what we call black bandeau shoes that's also ordered through our band boosters. Students are sized for this at the beginning of the school year. They use this for their concerts. They would also get black dress socks on their own. So this uniform is used for both concerts. We might use it for a picture day, and students might also use it if they participate in solo and ensemble. These are ordered at the beginning of the school year. Families are responsible for the black dress pants and the black dress socks, as we mentioned earlier. Some other required materials that we use in band. Besides their band instrument, they have accessories that they would use at home or during class time or concerts. So this not only includes their instrument, but any care materials that go along with their instrument, any other accessories like reeds for clarinets or double reed instruments, valve oil for our brass instruments, or for, let's say, our trombones, they have to use what's called slide cream and a water spray. So there's little things like that. We do have students get a folding wire music stand. They use this at home. You can see it in the picture there. That's a folding wire music stand. They might also use it for concerts, but it's primarily to be used at home. And again, anything that's involved that is needed to play their instrument on a regular basis. So that would include any accessories immediately involved with playing, or any other care materials to keep the correct parts moving or clean during that year. Students also will purchase their own band folder, which is a 3-ring, 1/2-inch binder, and then they use a beginning band book that's ordered from the band boosters at the beginning of the school year. Now, one of the most important things about this presentation is talking about instrument selection. So what we do for every student that comes into band is we do what's called an instrument test drive. This usually takes about 45 to 60 minutes. During this evaluation, we test all available instruments. We're identifying specific characteristic and natural tendencies for each student, and we're identifying what is going to work very well for that student. During this session, we limit it to 4 families at a time, and it takes about an hour to get through all 4 families, and we have the students make sounds on every instrument. I am coaching the students on every instrument, and again, we're trying to identify those instruments that will work best for a student. Not every student is going to have a good face to play clarinet. Not every student is going to have a good face to play trumpet, and then we'll also have some students that have a good face that they can do both. So our job is to determine that in these instrument consultations so we can determine the best fits for students. These consultations can be reserved online for selecting a particular appointment. If a student is going to be attending our summer band camp that we'll talk about soon, there is a testing day exclusively for kids that are going to that summer band camp, but those families are still encouraged to just go ahead and do a regular instrument consultation, because we do get to spend more quality time and answer a lot more questions during that time instead of doing that testing day for the camp. But if the testing day for the camp is the only one that works out, that is obviously available for just those students who would be attending our summer band camp program. Now, after we've had that instrument consultation session and we know what the child is going to be playing, then we need to have a quick discussion about how we obtain a band instrument. There are a few ways we can do that. A common way is an instrument rental, either through our local approved music store or through our band boosters if it's a school-owned instrument. Another way is if you were to just purchase an instrument, either new or used, from a variety of trusted sources. I typically don't recommend this for a first-timer in band, but if you are going to make a purchase, I ask that you consult me before you actually make that purchase, and that we avoid just making a purchase from our typical online stores that we order lots of other household goods from. Some of these websites, if you were to look up, let's say, a clarinet, and you typed in a clarinet, and it showed up with a very inexpensive clarinet, and it looked just like a clarinet, nice, shiny, and pretty, and brand new, but when you get that instrument and it comes in, it is not going to work properly, and if something goes wrong with it, there are repair people that would actually not repair it because it's made so cheaply. So we want to avoid those purchases at all costs. Another way that students can be obtaining an instrument is through what we call a closet treasure, meaning something that was lent or given to the family from a friend or another family member that maybe was in band at one other point in their lives. And sometimes these can be great instruments for students to use. Sometimes they're not really in great shape. So if that is the opportunity that a family has, I ask that I have the opportunity to check out that instrument to evaluate if it's going to work well enough or not. There might be a mouthpiece that needs to be updated on it, or it might need to get some work done on one of our local repair stores that do instrument repairs before that instrument would be able and ready for a student to play in band. So sometimes those work out great, other times they don't. So that's why I want to make sure that I can consult a family either on a closet treasure or if you're going to make a purchase before we commit to those two options. So instruments that are typically taken care of as a rental through a local band music store are trombone, clarinet, flute, French horn, or trumpet. These are the ones that are typically rented through a local music store on a month-to-month, what we call rent-to-own. Our approved local music stores offer what's called MAP insurance, which stands for Maintenance and Accident Protection. So if something goes wrong with the instrument, it is taken care of. It's a few extra bucks a month on top of the instrument rental through the store, and it covers all basic needs of wear and tear. This is very good for middle school and highly suggested, so our approved stores make this a have-to-do with your particular rental. So we want to avoid this from happening. And as unfortunate as this picture looks, if these were rentals through one of our local music stores, the MAP insurance would actually cover all or a majority of what would be needed for an instrument replacement or repair for these particular instruments. So that is why the MAP insurance is really important, because we understand that bad things can happen, especially at the middle school level. So the MAP insurance, again, is a few bucks on top of the rental each month, depending on the instrument, and is highly worth it. Instruments we have are school-owned, so they're rented through our band boosters on a maintenance fee. So that includes euphonium, otherwise called baritone, bassoon and oboe, which are our double reed instruments, French horn, which you saw on the other list as well, and tuba. French horn players will commonly do the school-owned rental instead of the store rental because it's more affordable. Even though we briefly mentioned instrument accessories earlier, to be more specific, that includes a mouthpiece, ligature and reeds if it's a clarinet, a care kit for the instrument for all instruments except flute, a valve or key oil for our brass instruments mainly, slide cream and a water spray bottle would be for trombone. These all come in a care kit that would commonly be purchased at the time of starting the rental. And these are particular items that are very specific to each instrument and even have some specific sizes, brands, those kinds of things. And we have that all on an approved accessories list that's provided after we do the instrument testing consultation. So what makes a reliable band music store reliable is that it provides that MAP insurance. They offer a rent-to-own plan for an instrument. They run to the trusted brand names of instruments and sizes of accessories, and they're familiar with our band program at Jackson Heights Middle School. So we have about 3 or 4 stores that fall under this category that we provide that information after we do the instrument testing consultation. If you were to go to a store that is outside of the list that we provide, we ask to make sure that they can carry all of the correct brands, sizes, and accessories, and that they are somewhat familiar with our program. This is important because it's a matter of trust and assures that you're going to get the right material for your child. Once the school year begins, the grading policy that we used for all of our band classes is 40% of the grade is performing in the concert, 20% for having correct daily supplies, 10% for homework, 15% for playing or written assignments, and 15% for any written or playing quizzes. This is also important because this is especially important to understand the first one there for 40%, because if it happens to be a 9-week term where there isn't a performance, then students automatically receive that 40% portion of their grade. When communicating with me at school, the best way to get a hold of me is by email or sending a note in with your child. If you do attempt to call, you will probably be unsuccessful of getting me on the phone, but I always do ask that when you email me to go ahead and provide a phone number so that I can call you back if needed. As mentioned before, we do have a summer band camp program. This year our band camp runs from May 30th to June 9th. The first week is Tuesday through Friday. The second week is Monday through Friday. Campers would be attending all 9 days. If you haven't done an instrument testing consultation with the band director, there is a testing day on May 23rd from 2:30 to 7 p.m. held at Haggerty High School Band Room. All camp days are held at Haggerty High School. It is not required to attend the band camp, but it is highly encouraged. Students get the opportunity to meet other students who will be signed up for band, as well as get to know the directors as well, and it gives them a good social opportunity before jumping into middle school. We do have a band website. It's www.jhmsband.com. There's a link for our up-to-date band calendar of events that stays live throughout the year.
There's link information about making any online payments needed for any band fees. There's a local music store and private teacher information. There's also some band camp information available on the website. And one of the really most important things we have on the website is a section for prospective students. In this area, you'll see some videos and sound clips about all the different instruments and some descriptions. So it's a really good resource for students to understand some really good details about all the available band instruments that exist in our band program.
We do have a Band Boosters Association. It's a 501c3 and assists with all the physical and financial aspects of the band program. Hope that you will join us, and looking forward to having you in our band family. Thank you again for listening to this presentation.